Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to talk about the entire history of the Hatchetfield lore. Now, this is the first time I'm making a video like this, so not everything might be perfect, but I think we'll still have some fun. We'll make it work. Now, why am I making this video? So, I just watched Nerdy Prudes Must Die the other day and man, that was pretty amazing. What Starkid did with the Hatchetfield stories and all the musicals, what a work of art. The passion I had for this group was already pretty big, but since the guy who didn't like musicals, I think they just outdid themselves with every single new entry in the Hatchetfield lore. And Nerdy Prudes Must Die was just a cherry on top. I hope this is not going to be the end of Hatchetfield. I know there's still the Working Boys short film, but there's so many stories to tell still in this universe. There's so many characters to explore, so much lore still unexplained. I hope they continue with this universe. I really do. I think it's pretty good. And because of my passion for Hatchetfield and Starkid and all their stuff, honestly, I wanted to contribute something to the community. I thought I'd make a video explaining some of the lore aspects. Now, I'm very open for any other video ideas, but let's just see how this one pans out. So the thing about the lore in Hatchetfield is that many details are sprinkled in here and there, especially in the Nightmare Time episodes, and you might not understand everything after the first time watching. I know I didn't. So if you haven't watched Nightmare Time or can't really connect with the format it has, or you just want to catch up with the lore before watching Nerdy Prudes Must Die, this is a video for you. Now, before we begin, I have to give a huge thanks to the Starkid Wiki, which has like so much information bundled into this website, and that helped a lot. Before we go into the history of Hatchetfield, let's give a brief overview. So, of course, Hatchetfield is the place the stories of the guy who didn't like musicals, Black Friday, Nerdy Prudes Must Die, and the nightmare stories take place. And Hatchetfield is a weird town. Strange things happen every day. Nerdy Prudes Must Die, the Detective Shapiro says, well, people go missing, people die every day here. And we as viewers know, of course, that there exists this other universe, the Black and White, where 5 Lords in Black rule, and then there's this other entity who's called Webby. So keep in mind, just before we begin, that the Lords in Black are the evil in this universe, and they are this sort of Lovecraftian, Cthulhu-like being that is pure evil. So now we begin with the founding of Hatchetfield. So Hatchetfield was founded in 1824 by some settlers who arrived on this island in Michigan. This island is in the Michigan Lake, which is interesting because Starkid was founded in Michigan at the university. And well, they settled there. Now here's where the crazy things start to happen already. Among these settlers was a woman called Willabella Muckwalk. What she did was she wrote the Black Book, and in this Black Book you can find spells and incantations that you can use to harness the powers of the Lords in Black. And she wrote this book with the blood of children, so you can imagine they didn't really fly with the Hatchetmen. So what the Hatchetmen did was she was found guilty of witchery, and well, they arrested her and hanged her in the Witchwood Forest. Now, the Witchwood Forest wasn't a forest back then. She was basically the first tree, so where she was hanged, the first tree sprouted. Willabella Muckwalk is interesting because she has a special connection to the Lords in Black. She can see into the Black and White, and she has the powers to talk to them. Since then, the Hatchetmen were really against any sort of witchery, of course, but there were other people that had the same gift that Willabella had. People who could talk to the Lords in Black, who had a connection to the Black and White, this other universe. And what the Hatchetmen did was well, they executed them and planted them into trees. Basically, many of these trees are people that were hanged in the history of Hatchetfield. The roots of the trees basically kept Willabella trapped. When you cut down a tree like this, the magic sort of flows back into the world. We see this in the nightmare time story Perky's Butts, where Emma cuts down trees to make room for their pot farm, and the Metzger family, who are the last descendants of the Hatchet Men, well, they try to stop them, well, basically execute them and grow them into trees as well. So they are still descendants of the Hatchet Men who try to protect this forest to keep the magic from getting into the world. So Hatchet Men don't like magic. We're going to come back to Willabella Mugwort in a while, in the present day, but now let's keep going with the history. For sometime in the next 100 years or so, a cult forms in Hatchetfield. A cult called the Church of the Starry Children. The Church of the Starry Children is, like I said, a cult that worships the Lords in Black. And they have the Black Book in possession that Willabella wrote. The Church of the Starry Children worship the Lords in Black, but they specifically seem to worship Nibbly in particular. So Nibbly is one of the 5 Lords in Black. And we see this in the Honey Queen episode of Nightmare Time, where Roman Murray is hosting the Honey Queen Festival, and Roman Murray, we'll learn later on, is a member of the Church of the Starry Children. And the Honey Queen Festival is basically the person who wanted this, the title of the Honey Queen the most wins this beauty pageant. And Linda Monroe, as well as Zoe, take part in this beauty pageant. And Linda wins because she wanted it the most, and then she gets taken to a church in the Witchwood Forest where she gets sacrificed to Nibbly by her own father. And Nibbly basically gives the members of the church in return money and power. So this is just one of the things the Church of the Starry Children do.
And the church possesses this Black Book until 1979, when the Hatchet Men attack the church and basically kill them all, and the Black Book was lost. Nobody knows where it is. Okay, back for part 2. I record this on another day, so hopefully now with better mic quality, a new beard, how do you like it, and some new information. So, now we talked about the timeline before, now we'll talk about the Lords in Black, P.E.I.P, and some other characters that might be important for the future. So the Lords in Black. I already talked about this. There's this multiverse, and in every universe, in some way, shape or form, it ends with a Lord in Black taking over and destroying the world, or basically being the ruler of the world. We already talked about Nibbly, also known as Nibbly, or the one who feasts in the dark, who seems to be the main Lord in Black of the Church of the Starry Children. He's the one with a mouthful of face. Nibbly basically just wants to eat, it seems like that's his whole deal. We don't know much about his personality. I think it's just he's just a hungry boy. Then next there's Wiggly. I got my own little Wiggly doll here, and he's the king of the Black and White. So he's the ruler, and he's also the most powerful, definitely. He looks like this. And he is just a cruel piece of... And Wiggly is also known as Wigog-Urath, or the Lord in Black. He is very childlike in nature, the way he speaks, the words he uses. And he gains control through... in Black Friday, basically through capitalism. But I'm sure there are many ways he tried to take over the world. Then there's Blinky, aka Blicklotap. Blinky's nickname is the Watcher with 1,000 eyes. Blinky has an eye for a face. And Blinky enjoys watching people suffer, mainly on a psychological level. He's the main Lord in Black in the story Watcher World, where he basically took over amusement park, and all the people there are sort of his slaves, and everybody who comes there basically gets tortured in a sort of psychological way. And he appears through a mascot in that story, but again, that's not really his true form. And he's he seems to be definitely the most the cruelest in terms of his enjoyment of the things he is doing. But also that means that he doesn't seem to really have great ambition. And there's also Tinky, aka Tenoi Caraxes, or the bastard of time and space. Tinky can manipulate time and space, so he can time travel, or much rather make other people time travel. In Time Bastard, he makes Ted travel to the future and back. The thing about Tinky is he has this bastard box, he calls it, and he can trap people in there, and they're basically imprisoned forever, and he really enjoys this little play box, and he collects people basically, and he's definitely a wild being. He's crazy. And then lastly there is Pokey, aka Pokotho, the singular voice, and I think he's my favorite. He has in The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, he's the main antagonist basically. Well, he's the hive mind, and there's this meteor that comes crashing down, and it's implied that's Pokey, but that can't really be it, because Pokey definitely is a little strong. I mean, he's like Wiggly, a being that we can't comprehend, so it seems like that's a part of Pokey, or a part of his mask maybe that fell off somehow, and that's the weapon he uses to inhabit other worlds. Basically, this meteor then functions as a brain for a hive mind, and that's Pokey's whole thing. He wants to create the biggest hive mind ever, by any means necessary, so he can literally like infest other people like a fungus and talk through them. A little bit about P.E.I.P. What is P.E.I.P? Well, it's the special unit of extraterrestrial, interdimensional, paranormal activity. In short, P.E.I.P. But you didn't hear this from me. I'm not a P.E.I.P. His leader is General John McNamara, who is sort of the one character that connects all the Hatchetfield stories a little bit. And P.E.I.P, they are basically a special force that seems to have a higher authority than the president himself, but know about the black and white, and they want to stop the Lords in Black. So we know this much. John McNamara is the leader. There is this other character, Wilbur Cross, who is the main disciple of sorts of the Lords in Black. So he is basically their number one guy on Earth who does all their bidding. And Wilbur Cross was a former member of P.E.I.P. Now, P.E.I.P created a portal in 2005 to the black and white. This is also where the girl I already talked about, Hannah Foster, was born, which is interesting to note. And Wilbur Cross walked through this portal and came back a changed man, and basically wanted to help the Lords in Black take over the world. So Wilbur Cross we meet in Black Friday as the guy who sells all the Wiggly dolls for Wiggly to take over. It's heavily implied that General John McNamara and Wilbur Cross were lovers, and we love that for them, except we don't, because now they hate each other, which is sad. So that's it, I think. That was some of the main information that I think is going to be important in the future. I didn't talk about Naughty Prudes Must Die in this video. I don't want to give any spoilers. If you want me to maybe make a rundown of what happened in Naughty Prudes, especially in the lore aspect, or if you want me to review Naughty Prudes, I am happy to do that. Just let me know. And if you want to see anything, let me know. But I think this is gonna be it for now. Yeah, I think I hope you enjoyed this. See ya!